Good evening. Tonight is Monday, March 19th, 2018. This is the Westwood Board of Selectmen. We will begin, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll grant permission to Westcat to both audio tape and videotape tonight's proceeding. Is there anybody else who wishes to tape tonight's proceeding? Hearing none. On March 6th, the board received correspondence from the Westwood Girl Scout Troop 66073, a group of fifth graders from the Deerfield School who are here with us this evening. Welcome. Welcome. We are excited to be part of your Bronze Award project and to support you as you seek to create a device-free day on April 29th. And the board will take some action after it hears a short presentation from you. How's that sound? Does anybody want to come up?
Yeah, come on, girls.
So we're actually a really friendly crowd, so don't be nervous. So normally what you would do is you should each say your names.
Okay. I'm Charlotte Scalaro.
I'm Grace Barnett.
I'm Caroline Gerber.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us speak to you today. We are Girl Scout Troop 66073, and we're all fifth graders from Deerfield.
We are here because we're concerned about how much time people in Westwood are spending looking at screens on their devices.
We became interested in this issue because we noticed that when people walk around our town, they spend a lot of time looking down at their screens and don't seem to enjoy the things around them.
We're working towards our Girl Scout Bronze Award, and for our project, we wanted to do something to help with this problem. We spent a lot of time doing research and observing the behavior of people in our town.
Computers and phones can be helpful, but spending too much time online on your phone, on your computer, or watching TV can be very bad for your health.
It can cause physical problems like trouble with your eyes, making you sleep badly, and causing pain in your neck, back, fingers, and wrists. It can also lead to being overweight. Studies show it can lead to atrophy, which means shrinking in your brain.
Too much screen time can also lead to mental problems, like depression, and can make you less productive. Lots of studies and surveys show that people are happier and can do their work better when they reduce their time online and spend time outside or on other activities.
We want to help with this in Westwood. We would like to encourage people to spend one day device-free to see how much better they feel after taking a break.
If they see the change it can make, maybe they will try to cut down on their time online. Sunday should be an easy day to do this, since people will be off work and school.
We are here to ask if you would declare Sunday, April 29th, to be device-free day in Westwood. If you do this, people might take more notice of this idea and be encouraged to give it a try.
We will tell people about the day with flyers, newspaper articles, and announcements in schools. We will also make an event that day for Girl Scouts and their families with fun things to do, like making device sleeping bags and playing games to give them an alternative of being on their devices.
With your help, we think we can make a difference to the people in Westwood. Thank you.
Thank you. That was
Go
great.
anywhere. Don't go anywhere yet. Don't go anywhere yet.
I know. I'm always telling people to get off devices at home. So I'm going to, should the board join me in voting to support your device-free day, wildly declare it at my house. So thank you.
And we talked about, when we met, about maybe asking people to log in the time that they did. Did you think any more about that? Are you going to be able to do that, or are you just going to have the event?
We were thinking that maybe we'd set up like a web address where people could go and like email us about their experience and how they felt about it.
Very good. That's wonderful. Well, I'm willing to make a motion.
I'm so happy to be off the grid for a whole day. Sure, why not?
Right. Well, we all will be, right?
That's right.
So I would like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve Sunday, April 29th, 2018, device-free day in Westwood, and that we encourage all residents to use this day to understand the health effects of too much screen time, to invite families to the Scout House on April 29th. I think you'll handle inviting people so we make sure it's manageable, and that we support any efforts you put forth to have this be device-free day.
I'll second that.
Is there any other discussion? Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. And I know the board has a proclamation. You want to read it?
Sure. Whereas the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Westwood, Massachusetts, acknowledge and support Westwood Girl Scout Troop 66073, and hereby proclaim Sunday, April 29, 2018, as Device-Free Day. And whereas the Board of Selectmen support Troop 66073 and its efforts to encourage residents in Westwood to go device-free on this day, to learn the effects of too much screen time can have on one's health. And whereas the Board of Selectmen support Troop 66073, plan to host a family-friendly event at the Scout House on April 29th, which will include crafts, games, and materials on the health effects of too much screen time can have. And whereas the Board of Selectmen commends the members of Troop 66073 for its work on this health issue. Be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen recognizes Girl Scout Troop 66073 of Westwood, Massachusetts, and its efforts to host a device-free day on Sunday, April 29, 2018.
Make one note.
Yeah, of course.
Our event's actually going to be at the library rather than the Scout House.
Oh, okay. So noted.
We'll still sign this one.
We'll still sign this one. We can re-sign it later.
And we'll still show up. Let
Thank
us know
you.
where to be.
You all did a great
exactly when,
job.
okay? Congratulations.
With them? Yeah. Do you guys want to come up and do a picture with the selectmen with your new proclamation?
We do want to do a Christine sidewalk.
Yeah.
So we're going to turn around and pop up. And nobody hides. Everybody else can see. Sure. Why not? Nope, you have to have everybody be seen. All of you facing see.
Oh, mine froze. Okay. Oh, mine froze.
We can send you.
There we go. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Good job.
Night.
See ya, good night.
Bye.
Out at the Girl Scout House.
I almost made a joke, but I knew it wouldn't go well.
Good
Right,
decision.
Christine, what do you mean it's not at the Girl Scout House?
Next up on the chairman's update is we do want to recognize the amazing work by so many of our town employees during what has been an unprecedented 3 weeks of weather. Not to go into too much detail on all of the storms, but we all know the early March storm brought mostly rain, a host of flooding, toppled trees, lots of power outages. And into the second week, we had 2 more storms. We had just cross-functional work and great work by the Department of Public Works, the fire department, the police department, health staff, and volunteers. We are incredibly appreciative to all of those who kept us safe and helped us with Eversource to get our power back on. So thank you all very much.
Can I have a moment?
Sure.
I just want to take a moment publicly to thank people. Past couple weeks have been challenging personally, and given my father's passing, I just want to thank everybody for their support.
All right, thank you. All right, next up. Budget update.
Nobody wants to come up with you, Pam, I don't know.
We are at the tail end of the budget process, and just a few things to go through with you tonight. Our Article 1 and 2 supplements for the current year, and then just a couple of quick updates for the FY19 budget. But I do have to start out just following what Selectman Hickey just talked about, is the snow and ice budget. It's just really turned into a terrible winter, came late, but turned terrible. But we have to talk a little bit about how we're paying for that. This slide is from our budget book that shows how much we spend each year on snow and ice budget going back a number of years. And it's clear to see that it, fluctuates wildly. That's winter in New England. But on average, we spend about $450,000, although in our most recent years, it's been higher, $590,000 to $800,000. Currently, we're projecting, as shown in the green, about $700,000 spending in FY18, and most of that's in the most recent weeks. I do have to say that would be before any future storms. So if we get hit with a couple more really big ones, that could go up. We do have ways to supplement our budget and pay for snow and ice. It's the only budget that's handled a little bit differently in Massachusetts. Our base budget is $300,000. So if we spend about $700,000, we need to accommodate that additional $400,000. And we do it in a number of ways. Article 1, where we do a transfer from the Finance Commission reserve account. Article 2, where we appropriate some money from free cash. And Article 3, the final way, the third method is we can leave some and have a little deficit, and we raise that on next year's tax recap. And typically, we do all three in a combination to try to cover that. So again, at the bottom, about $700,000 we're looking at right now. We also, that's the snow and ice budget. We also have snow and ice overtime in our DPW department of about $125,000 because so many of these storms have been multiple days and during the night and that type of thing. So looking forward, when we look at the budget adjustments that we need for FY18, I'm showing you first without the snow and ice, very, very minor adjustments, $36,500 on all of our school and municipal budgets, just some transfers from budgets shown on the left with a little bit of surplus to a couple of budgets on the right that need some adjustment, very minor. And typically our adjustments are in the salary category because if there's a fluctuation in a small department or if someone's out, an example, Youth and Family Service this year had a maternity leave that we covered, so very minor. And then when we add in the snow and ice, you'll see a larger number, but I wanted to be clear that it's really just coming from that one budget. So $236,000 in Article 1. So we do $200,000 from the FinCom reserve to snow and ice. That FinCom reserve is $400,000. So we never do more than two in this article so that there is some money remaining in that account should anything come up between now and the end of the fiscal year. So that would be our Article 1, very minor, and then about 200 of the snow and ice. In Article 2, which is also adjustments to the current year, but here we're appropriating some different funds, just the same thing, first without the snow and ice, very minor, and two standard adjustments we frequently do. The first one is to fund some of the upcoming revaluation services. It is a full reval year coming up, and the assessors have to start that process. So $35,000 for that, and we do fund that with the overlay surplus. And the overlay is the account the assessors are required to set aside for abatements and exemptions against real estate. And then ambulance services, $71,000. We only use our ambulance revenue to fund ambulance services. We typically do to kind of fill during the year what we need in the ambulance for supplies. We fund in Article 2, as well as this year does have in that $71,000 is $10,000 additional supplement for our ambulance billing service that comes out of the collector's budget. We do pay that based on a % of revenue, and as our revenue's been tracking higher, that account's a little bit higher. So very standard for us to have those two items. And then again, showing you at the bottom what we need to do with the snow and ice. That number comes up quite a bit to $331,000 because we're doing another $100,000 here for snow and ice account and $125,000 for the DPW salary account. We would take those two appropriations from free cash.
A question for you on the slide before, Pam. Why would there be excess in the comprehensive insurance account as a surplus that could be transferred to cover the expenses? Can you just comment on that?
Sure. I go back. Sorry.
Yep.
So the comprehensive insurance account, I believe we budget that at about $400,000 to pay for all of our insurance for all of our school and municipal properties throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of set that budget. That number can fluctuate during the year. And we typically have to have it a little bit higher as we bring new buildings online or new vehicles, that type of thing. But when we're looking at our year-end adjustments, Marie and I go through all of our projections very closely, and we're comfortable that there's a little bit of extra money in that budget that we're able to use for that.
And so Pam, what ultimately are we going to budget for next year, snow and ice?
So, yeah, coming to that. So those would be our supplements, Article 1 and 2. And then for the FY19 budget. So we really have had very few changes from the budget process that you set many months ago now. And really, it's because the selectmen set really an excellent original budget plan. You had a budget that accommodated a wide area of categories, the operating budgets, our capital needs, our fixed cost, our reserve accounts, everything. Met with the schools early and worked quite well with them throughout the budget process. So we've really not had any changes as that process has gone on over the last several months. So two recent numbers that I would like to change in the budget. One is our health insurance budget. So we typically do an estimate early in the budget cycle, and then we get our actual rates from the GIC in the February-March timeframe, and we can update that budget. So we did receive our rates recently from the GIC. We do need an FY19 budget of about $5.8 million, an increase of $145,000 or 2.5% over FY18. So the GIC, there was a month or so ago some great discussion and upheaval in that process, but at the end of the day, they kept the rates quite low. Most of the rates are within the 2% increase. Some plans have a 5% increase, but those are not the more popular plans. So when we ran a new update on our insurance, we can come in at 5.89, and that's for all of our school and municipal employees. That is about $200,000 less than I was carrying in that original budget. We had a 6% budget increase. You know, some years when that number gets updated, it's not, doesn't swing this right way for us. But this year, this is coming in, nicely coming in about $200,000 less. And the one other item we have an update on is the Blue Hills Regional School Assessment. Similar that we just carry an estimate early in the budget process. We did last week get our updated and final assessment from Blue Hills. That final number is $137,000. It's actually a decrease from the prior year by about $11,000 or 7.5%. And that's because we are down one student compared to the year before. But that is about $23,000 less than what I was carrying in that original FY19 budget, just an estimate I had used. So right now we have the $200,000 and the $23,000 from these two items where the budgets are actually less than what we had in our plan. Many years we are looking to have updates in the spring from health insurance just to kind of balance out our budget. We're not in balance at this point. But again, with a selectmen's budget, right from early on was balanced and in really good shape. We're in a little bit different position where we got a nice swing on both of these budgets. We don't need those savings just to balance out our budget. Again, the budget covered a number of things. The school and municipal budgets were in good shape, the reserve accounts. We have unused tax levy of about $480,000, so all the pieces addressed. So you'd have an opportunity to look at using these savings for some areas. And I would make the recommendation, based on what we just looked at earlier, to take a look at the snow and ice budget. So we, for many, many years in Westwood, had budgeted that snow and ice budget at about $150,000. The early years of the university station, we added an additional $100,000 to that budget and brought that up to $250,000. And then we started talking with the selectmen a couple of years ago that we really should be trying to target that average spending of $450,000. So not that there's not ways for us to supplement and reach whatever we spend, but the budget we had at $250 was just so much lower than what we really knew we were going to spend. So 2 years ago, we did increase that budget to $300,000. But we have not made any further progress up to the $450. So we could utilize this savings and try to make a step towards that.
But I guess 8 out of the last 10 years, we've been above $450. So, I mean, why wouldn't we even go higher? So that we're not looking for a supplement year after year. Why wouldn't we set it higher than $450?
Well, the only thing is some years you don't spend it. It would be great just to even get to the $450. Again, there are ways to supplement that budget as opposed to other budgets if you go over. We'll never really be able to, and nor should we, try to budget on an ongoing basis to reach kind of the extreme years. And then there's one little quirky thing in the Mass State law. Because they let us deficit spend this budget, and it's the only budget where we can, spend what we need to spend, and then kind of have to accommodate and find the funding for that. If you in any year decrease your budget, you're not allowed to use that mechanism. So say we budgeted at 600,000 and we saw several years where we were only spending at 4, we wanted to decrease that budget, we'd lose that tool. So we don't want to go super high, but
okay.
it would really make a nice difference if we could get up closer or at that 450.
And the reserve fund was always considered a primary source for the supplemental monies that we needed above, when we went above average, so.
Yeah, we've tried to not use the FinCom reserve for any other purpose other than the transfer at town meeting. We can also use free cash. But it really, as we talked before, when we were looking at the averages, what we're carrying in the budget's not a true reflection of what we're going to spend. Even in a low year now, things just cost more, the salt and sand and that type of thing. So we could look at increasing the snow and ice budget from the $300,000 that we have in your overall proposed budget. The one other account I would suggest looking at is the Selectmen's Reserve account. So you currently have $225,000 in an account that we originally set up, maybe 10 years ago as an energy reserve account that we've broadened in the last couple of years. And really it has handled a number of things that come up during the year. The energy manager has come before you and said there's a great state program that can give us a good state grant, but we need a small match of $10,000 or $25,000 to kind of match and get a couple $100,000 from the state programs, that type of thing. So really, the FinCom reserve is set up by the state. Every town's required to have the FinCom reserve, and that's really for unforeseen and emergency spending. So we try not to have that. The Selectmen's account has really been more like to accommodate those fluctuations and things that change during the year. Whether that's a budget where something has changed. Some years the school has had some needs with HVAC issues or things like that, a match for grants, that type of thing. I think a good example is this year where you're dealing with the school safety plan. When that came up and we were close to town meeting, we could fund it that way. But if it was at a different time of the year, your reserve account would be the type of thing that you could do with that account. So we have about $220,000 to work with, and I would recommend that we look at those two budgets, again, because we have good budgets in place for our other areas.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Do we need to take action?
Well, I have a bunch of other questions.
Okay, sure.
Do we need to take a
You
vote
would
on
need to
that?
take action, because I would go in at your recommendation and change the budget and send that along to FinCom for them to see the Article 1 and 2 and the updated operating budget.
Okay. My only other comments were, I just think it's important for the public to know, and I hope I'm reading this correctly. The GIC increase is a non-discretionary. That's our assessment from GIC that has changed. Right? There's no policy decision we make as a town that impacts those rates.
Correct.
Those rates come from GIC.
Correct.
And it's the same with Blue Hills, right? We get an assessment based on the utilization, so it's not that we set policy, it's that we're engaged in this and we pay an assessment. The only other thing, PM, though, I did hope to see was utilization of some meals and tax money for the aid to the elderly. I thought we were gonna do that.
Yep. So the one thing I thought was if we were able to increase your reserve account, that gives you an opportunity to use that for the aid to the elderly like you did this year. It's just a little better timing for us to be able to have you do that through that reserve account than to go back to only at May at town meeting. May's kind of late in the year for us to get the transfer of the money in order to get it onto bills in a timely manner. That fourth quarter bill goes out April 1st. So this year you approved in February from your reserve account the match. And I think that's what the committee would look at going forward, is just a match of whatever they can raise in donations. That worked better for us to be able to do that in a February, March
Timing issue,
timeframe.
Okay. I just, after we get through this budget cycle, I want to start focusing on tagging that money to certain things. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Yeah, so what would be your recommendation be for the split, Pam?
For the,
For the split of the money, so between, would you say 50 to the snow and
I
ice
thought,
budget?
at least if we did 120,000 for the snow and ice and 100,000 to your reserve account, would be, recommendation on the
That would put us at
220.
420 for the snow and
That
ice
would bring us
budget?
to 420. We could do, the 450 if you wanted, and then 80 to your reserve account. I think either one would be terrific.
Let me just ask another question.
Go ahead.
Later in the meeting, the board's gonna take up what they're gonna put aside for security, ask for security. Have you thought about the funding source for that? Because my recommendation would be $125,000 for that.
For the article town meeting?
Yeah.
Yes, so we're going to fund that with free cash.
Free cash,
Yep.
okay.
Or, then, I would favor increasing the
450.
snow and ice to the 450. Are you okay with that?
Well, my only concern is, so when I look at the chart, there are some years we never even get close. So my question is, let's say that we put it at 450 and we don't use it. What happens to the excess money? Does
Yep,
that carry
closes out
over?
to, closes out to free cash.
Closes out.
Yeah, it's a regular annual budget, where a budget set, if we don't spend it, it would close out.
Okay. I
Yeah,
just
so
didn't
we're
know
not
if it carries-
penalized.
If it carries
Right.
over year to year, so that we could
Carries
get to
over.
$1 million,
Goes to free cash.
So we're not penalized,
when we
right,
have
if,
snowstorms in April, which will be,
yeah.
only a couple of years away, so.
yeah.
Just
Hard
if
to
you,
remember those good years this month, but
Very hard.
just if you
Well, 8 out of the
decrease the
last 10
budget.
years, I mean, like, we've been above 450.
yeah.
If you purposely decrease the budget is when
Yeah,
you
that's when you
can't
get the
use
penalty.
the
Okay.
deficit.
All right.
I'm okay
And
with that.
every year is different. Some of the years with the storms, the board knows, depending on the type of storm, we might get state reimbursement or FEMA money. This year, really none of our storms apply to that. So, you're never really sure kind of what the final town obligation is going to be. But certainly having a budget of 450 would put us in a much better position.
I mean, I'd like to see it at 450. I'll defer to you where the money comes from.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong feeling either
Okay.
way.
I move that we reallocate a portion of the budgeted amount for health insurance in the amount of $150,000 to the snow and ice budget for FY 2019, and that we also allocate 70 in total, partially from the health insurance budget and the balance from the Blue Hills Regional School budget to the Selectmen's reserve account in the amount of $70,000.
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none.
Great, thank you very much.
And then release the fourth quarter capital.
And the fourth quarter capital, you do your quarterly release, there's just one item remaining. Most of that capital has already been released for FY19. There's just $20,000 in IT and user technology.
I move that we release $20,000 for end-user technology
Fourth quarter, okay.
for the fourth
Second.
quarter.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
I want to ask a question about the agenda.
Sure.
May I, Mr. Chairman? Mike, could you tell us why we are not taking up the land disposition agreement as it relates to Islington Center in open session as it had been originally scheduled? There's definitely concern that I share that we're having all these discussions in executive session. It's an executive session item when we're in negotiation, but at this point, I'm just wondering why we aren't doing this in open session.
Because we're still in negotiation with the developer. And to do that in open session would have a tape of your discussion about the position you want to take in bargaining with him on record, and he would then use that information to his benefit.
Well, given the timing of events, meetings, and everything else, then when would we bring this into open session?
Hopefully in April.
Meeting April 12th.
Right. Now, some language will be released to the Finance Commission with regard to the the draft or the negotiated settlement that we have in place, that we'll have in place by then, so we can present something to the Finance Commission. But there are a couple of items, namely monetary items, that will remain unresolved until early April. And the reason for that is we're in the process of we've ordered an appraisal to work to bolster our position with regard to financing.
Okay, so we are here on the 19th. The Finance Commission is going to get something that we will not have discussed in public for their meeting on the 26th.
Yeah, that's true.
Can we have a meeting before the 26th?
Can you, yeah, you could.
We won't have an appraisal.
Well, you can, what you can do is you can discuss the action, we hadn't thought about that for tonight. We could discuss the language of the disposition agreement absent the funding, have blanks for the funding aspects of it, but the term, we're still working on the term, finalizing the terms. We've got an edited version or response to our most recent update or delivery to the developer and his attorney. We just received tonight, I just noticed on the email, response from the attorney suggesting various edits. So we're not ready to be able to disclose exactly what the language of the disposition agreement is, but we could if you have another meeting between now and the 26th.
Okay. Maybe that's what we should talk about when we get to the other business and talk about maybe scheduling another meeting. Because I know we can't talk about it tonight. It's not on the agenda.
Right.
So we have to take it up on another meeting. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, review of annual town meeting warrant articles. At this point, we can.
Do we have something on Bubbling Brook?
On the new one, John, it's on the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
on this.
It's okay, here, it's this.
It's quick.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. To approve the common victular license for Bubbling Brook. The purpose is to have the Board of Selectmen review the common victular seasonal application for Bubbling Brook. Bubbling Brook opens its doors in the beginning of the spring, remains open until Columbus Day weekend. The renewal period, which is typically around the first of the year, has closed. The board typically does its approval contingent upon final inspections for the next season. Because Bubbling Brook was not in operation during our most recent renewal session, we're taking them a little bit out of order. I suspect that Bubbling Brook was probably in existence prior to the creation of the common victular regulations, so we'll cut them a break.
They do this typically every year where they close up Columbus Day, and then when we do our renewal periods, we usually do a contingency at your votes in December, but we left it off this past year and
Yep.
just catching up. So they've completed all their inspections for building,
They'd like to
health, and
open on
fire.
the
When are they
snowy
opening,
first
They're
day of
actually
spring.
opening on Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Yeah, so they've
Oh,
they've
boy.
got sign off on all.
Build
the
snowman out where the
You can go inside.
picnic tables are.
There you go. I move we approve the issuance of a common victular license to Bubbling Brook for the 2018 season.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Hey, they'll be opening on Wednesday. Snow.
And maybe you'll chase away the snowstorm.
All right, now I'm back on track, correct? Removal of
Sorry
articles. The Finance Director's report, there are no items for unpaid prior year's bills. Oh, right, yeah, okay. So the board may remove this article from the 2018 annual town meeting warrant, and there were two miscellaneous articles that we no longer need to hold. We're still kind of in a holding pattern on Hedgerow.
Unfortunately, the residents and the developer have not come to an agreement that would allow for the discontinuance of the road.
Okay, so we'll leave it for now. We are going to add the affordable housing article, and so this is kind of an interesting funding mechanism. We are asking town meeting to appropriate $1 million to establish an affordable housing account, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to expend in a manner that will support and/or create affordable housing units that can be listed on our SHI, which stands for the state's subsidized housing inventory. This is, although we're asking for $1 million, $489,000 of that we currently possess, Mike, and
That's right.
rightfully should be returned to the developer. the developer of University Station is willing to forego that to help us mitigate some affordable housing issues that have grown as a result of statutory and regulatory changes. So we would be seeking the other 511 from free cash from now and building permits for phase 2.
Well, it would be coming from free cash, but the point is that the building permit fees now will go into free cash
Okay, got
going
it.
forward,
Okay.
so.
So in a way, it's the development is helping us fund the creation of affordable housing, which is a good outcome. Okay. Very good. Comprehensive security needs assessment. The board has committed to a study of school and municipal buildings that will assess security needs. The town administrator has set up meetings with potential consultants identified by a local security professional. The first step will be to draft a scope of services, to see if, so we need, do we have a dollar amount?
Yes, 125,000.
Oh. I'm way off, sorry. Okay, so we're seeking to appropriate $125,000 for the security needs assessment. The Islington Center redevelopment articles. Are these ready to go? The town is continuing.
Yeah.
If the project, the board will need to do two things. It needs to get town meeting approval for the disposition and acquisition of municipal properties, and second, to appropriate funds for the relocation and construction of Wentworth Hall. To see if the town will take the following action: to convey to a person or entity selected in accordance with the applicable procurement laws those parcels of land shown as lots 163, 188, and 189 on the town of Westward's Assessor's Plat number 23, along with an approximately 3,200 square feet portion of that parcel of land shown as lot 190 on town of Westward's Assessor's Plat, to acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise approximately 28,494 square foot parcel of land shown as the municipal lot, and the plan entitled Proposed Layout Site Plan School Street Side, Islington Village, Westwood, Mass., Norfolk County, prepared by GCG Associates, dated December 12, 2018, and revised through March 8, 2018.
Is that a typo? Should that be December 12th, 2017?
Oh, correct. Thank you.
And the same will come up in the next one.
To acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise the approximately 28,494 square foot parcel of land shown as municipal lot, and the approximately 10,081 square foot parcel of land shown as open space on the plan entitled Proposed Layout Site Plan School Street Side, Islington Village, Westwood, Mass., Norfolk County, prepared by GCG Associates, dated December 12, 2017, and revised through March 8, 2018, to acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise, and to abandon any and all easements, rights, including rights of way or restrictions, as is necessary or convenient to convey or acquire clear title to the above referenced parcels of land on terms acceptable to the Board of Selectmen, and lastly, to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary or convenient on behalf of a town to effect the above actions. Okay, this is all gonna be one article?
That's one article.
Okay, or take any action related thereto, appropriation for Wentworth Hall and addition. To see if the town will vote to appropriate and/or transfer from available funds and/or borrow an amount sufficient to cover the cost of the design, construction, and oversight work associated with the relocation, renovation, and expansion of Wentworth Hall, which is the library in Islington Square, including without limitations such as costs associated with engineering, moving, connecting to utilities, site work, foundation, building, lighting, landscaping, and signage, in a manner generally consistent with conceptual architectural plans entitled Islington Library Study, prepared by GNAP Design, dated February 8, 2018, and with project plans entitled Islington Village Site Plans, Washington East and School Streets, Westwood, Massachusetts, prepared by GCG Associates, dated December 12, 2018, and revised, 17. Happens to the best of us, yeah, and dated
Yeah.
December 12, 2017, and revised through March 8, 2018, or take any action in relation thereto.
I think the first sentence on that is wrong. That's not the article we discussed Earlier, the first sentence read, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and/or transfer from available funds and/or borrow an amount sufficient to cover the cost of all design, site preparation, and construction work associated with the relocation, renovation, and expansion of Wentworth Hall. And then the rest of it goes on.
Okay.
And, yeah,
So
we
just
had a
like-
discussion this morning where I had revised that, and then we were revising it
Revise
back.
that. So I have the.
No, that's okay. I mean, I want to get it right, though. To cover the cost of all design, comma,
Site preparation, and construction work associated with the relocation, renovation, and expansion of Wentworth Hall, including without limitation, cost associated with site work, foundation, building, lighting, landscaping, and signage in a manner generally consistent. The rest of it is what you guys.
okay. And we'll have this on our website tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
And what I also would ask the board to do is that, to take the vote that this is in effect, but there are some minor wording changes that may
Right.
still need to be made.
Right.
But as long as it's consistent with what we're ultimately trying to accomplish here.
Right, I got it. Okay. So the proposed action is, 1, vote to remove the following articles. A, unpaid prior year's bills, and B, the 2 miscellaneous articles.
Take a motion to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that we take the action as mentioned by the chair.
So move the unpaid prior year's bills and the 2 miscellaneous articles.
Correct.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And secondly, to approve the language drafted in the packet and present the language to the Finance and Warrant Commission at its hearing on March 26th.
So moved.
Do you want to just change that to approve the proposed language as it is now, subject to small amendments?
Yeah,
I
to-
move we approve the language as amended this evening and present said language to the Finance and Warrant Commission at its hearing on March 26th.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion from the public? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we need to approve the language of this comprehensive security needs assessment? We weren't fully,
Yeah, I would
Done that before.
adopt both those articles. The housing article, which has funding,
yeah.
and the comprehensive security needs assessment, which now has funding as well.
Okay, I move we adopt the articles presented this evening regarding affordable housing with the total funding amount of $1 million, and the second article regarding the comprehensive security needs assessment with an associated amount to be determined, or are we going to specify tonight?
It says
The
125.
$125,000.
With the amount of $125,000.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. So lastly, Mike, are you going to give us an update?
Well, in your packet, what we've done for the last couple of years now is have a running list of the goals. It'd be lengthy to go through each one of them, but we list the goals, and department heads are asked to revise or to put in an update to those goals that have been worked on since the last time the update was given. And we also ask department heads to identify all goals that they feel are completed, and so note that. And so there's a comprehensive listing of those goals and accomplishments thus far this fiscal year. And I'd answer any questions or get answers to any questions you might have about that.
So, Mike, did you want us to publicize that the COA is and the Friends of the Library? Did you want us to publicize that? Because obviously they're looking for volunteers to bring books to the, people that.
Yeah, that would be a good thing, because that was actually,
see that
that's
too.
an example of something we added to the goals
Right, I see
that
that.
wasn't originally there, and that sounds like a great program.
Right. So, the COA and the Friends of the Library are looking to provide homebound delivery of library materials to Westwood residents. So we encourage anyone who has some free time and, and bring some books to some of the elderly who are homebound, we'd definitely appreciate you contacting the COA or the Friends of the Library in the coming weeks.
And I just think it's worth noting, because some people might be a little bit taken back if they were asked, if you volunteer for this program because you're dealing with elderly who are vulnerable, we do query
Yep.
all individuals that will be interacting with the elderly in this regard, just so nobody caught by surprise when they're asked to do that.
You will be subject to a query before you're able to deliver any books. All right, Chief Silla? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Aren't we so many times for so many reasons now? Anyway, I just had a question, Christine. Can you, when you get a chance, look on page 31 with regard to the hotel and meals tax revenue? The status update in November just doesn't fully make sense to me. I just think there are some typos in it, so it's something you can look at later.
I'm looking at the wrong 31, sorry. Hold on.
Page 31, the middle of the page.
Bless you.
It's completed, correct?
No, just look at the 11-13 one, and you'll see under the meals tax.
Oh, hold it, yeah.
Yeah, that in non-conformance with the state law. I'm not sure saying what we wanted to say. I just wanted to be sure we had that clear. I think it's probably in conformance with state law as opposed to non-conformance with state law.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And Mike, the question I have, it's one that is identified as progress being made, but communication between meetings.
I read
Work's
that.
being done?
I read that article, that goal. I had made a lot of effort in the beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Got to this point with a lot of things going on.
Yeah, it
Didn't
needs to
make
be
as
sort
much
of
progress.
scheduled
It
into
needs
the-
to be
Okay.
Yep, I saw that.
Okay. Thank you.
You've
problem.
had turnover, John.
Yes.
Where do they go?
One went to the FBI, and then two others went to different departments looking for more activity, more promotional opportunities, bigger departments.
So it wasn't necessarily money, it was different type of work,
They're
okay.
just looking for more, the biggest thing was promotional opportunities. And being a smaller department, we don't have the promotional opportunities that some bigger departments afford.
I don't think I had anything else.
Nope, been busy.
Okay. Anything else? Mike, anything?
Oh,
So Christine, I have an issue with this little gadget we're now trying to use. I can't find the minutes to read.
They weren't on this, unless you go to your email.
Yeah, they're in your
You
email.
have to go to your email.
Oh.
We can
You'd
do it
send
next
another
time,
one.
yeah. When we, just for note, when we put them in here, your packet would then be twice the size, so you'd have to scroll through. And we don't, it's a little different. We can put them in there if you want to try and look at it next time. I can do both.
I know you sent out 2 emails, and I didn't follow up on that to remember that it was separate, so
Yeah.
just, that was a little distracting.
Doing them next time sounds like a great idea.
And I'll pay attention to that.
We can put them in.
Thank you.
Okay. Other business that may properly come before the board.
We need to schedule a meeting.
We need to schedule a meeting. Won't have to be this week, right? Thursday?
Thursdays.
Friday?
It'll be done by Thursday night. We'll be recovering.
Just throwing it out there.
I can do it.
Is it Thursday or Friday?
Friday morning? What do we need, like a half hour?
Friday morning.
Probably.
Friday morning at 9?
No,
I have a 9 o'clock that morning.
Earliest I could do is 8:30. 8:30 work?
For me? Yeah, Friday's okay. Whatever works for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the board's next meeting will be Friday, March 23rd at 8:30 a.m. Will we have it here, Christine, or?
can have it in the.
Selectmen's meeting room, yeah.
Okay, at the Selectmen's meeting room in Town Hall. So we'll post that tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll post it in the morning.
Anything else? Okay. Public press, anybody? Issues? Okay, hearing none.
Oh, we have to go into executive session.
The board at this time will be going into executive session to discuss one issue related to the sale, lease, exchange of real property related to the Islington Center redevelopment, both of which would have a detrimental effect on the position of the governing body if discussion were an open session. The board will not be returning to open session.
It looks like there's one issue and not two issues, Mike. The language said both issues.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
okay, so I move we go into executive session for the issue referred to by Chairman Hickey.
I'll second.
All in favor? Mr.
No.
Walsh?
Aye.
Mrs. Hyde?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. All right, thank you all. Good night.